So we're gonna just have a conversation starter and try to bring some awareness to make sure that you know that you're not alone, that you have support, and that you have others to reach out to. But obviously, in a 45-minute session, we're not going to solve everything, but just wanted to give you some skills and tools that you can maybe take away with today. So again, I'm Cyrena Thibodeau. I work at the Connecticut Department of Agriculture. I'm very happy to talk to anyone, both from in-state and out-of-state after about programs after this. And David, if you want to just introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay. All right, so I grew up on a dairy farm. My father was in the Navy, came back from the Navy, and 4 kids, did what all good Americans did when they came back from the Navy. And 4 years later, in 1950, my dad had polio. And he had already given my wife, my mother, 4 children. And so he went from being a dairy farmer to being a vegetable and fruit farmer, and became a therapeutic farmer. He spent the rest of his life limping, planted 25 acres of strawberries, 10 acres of raspberries, and 10 acres of blueberries. And my dad spent a lot of time climbing around the fields. He would ride his 4-wheeler up, and when he was 84 one day, the hospital called at a physical. They said, "We're going to arrest you for adult protective services because your father has calluses on both his knees." And so I went up and talked with him. I said, "Dad, could you tell me what that's about?" He said, "Well, when I prune blueberries, I have to crawl from one plant to the next to prune them." And so I felt as a consenting adult that he wanted to prune the blueberries on his knees, and the hospital was fine, which they were. It wasn't necessarily a hardship disability, but that's how he chose to grow old. So a couple ones on the therapeutic agriculture, that's what we're asking. So when my children were small, I'd look out the front window in the morning. My brother was the one who raised 25 acres of strawberries on the Susquehanna Valley. And so we would look out, and my wife used to joke, it's bottoms up. You've got 80 people out there before they go to work in the morning who are standing on their heads picking red strawberries. And so we learned that there were a lot of educated people who valued getting down and working with their hands, both strawberries and then raspberries and then blueberries. I would joke with my brother is that, you got all these people standing on their heads. I'm producing a crop that people don't have to bend over to pick. And so at the end of their workday, we were afraid my dad and I, when we planted them 45 years ago, that people wouldn't come in after work, after the air-conditioned office all day, and want to work in the fields. And we find out just the opposite. People couldn't wait to get out of their offices, and between the 5 o'clock and dark shift, we had usually 150 people who came and just wanted to pick blueberries. And so people said every day, they said, "This is therapeutic." And so we started saying to them, "Well, it'll be an extra $40. And we found that people saw this as something that was good for their bodies, hearts, and souls. And so part of the theme of this conference is therapeutic farming. And so my dad, since his polio, had to go back to working on his knees. We had 40 acres of vegetables and berries. And my dad was a good incentive. One thing I didn't appreciate is us kids, when we were under 6, if you misbehaved, you had to weed the carrots. How many of you have ever had to weed carrots? Okay, weeding carrots is not like, you were a good kid, you made your bed this morning. Weeding carrots was kind of a miserable job. And I also grew up on the farm where I was in 2nd grade, I got called a chicken plucker because my father raised an awful. How many of you ever plucked chickens? Okay, so my dad raised a lot of chickens, and us kids had to do it. And I thought this was a compliment when my friends called me chicken plucker. But part of being a farmer in community, sometimes people don't always give you the most pleasant name. I think that's what we're going to have this conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, David. So now we want to open it up a little bit to the room before we move into an activity. So I just wanted to ask everyone in the room to raise your hand if you've been in a situation where you've had to advocate for yourself. This does not need to be agriculture related necessarily. All right, we'll look around the room. All right, keep your hand raised if you were hesitant or afraid to advocate for yourself in this situation. All right, thank you all. So this is not a huge group, and you saw how many people raised their hands. This is not a unique situation. Everyone experiences this at some point in their life, likely, and so it's important to realize that you have each other to lean on and to support each other. If you can just kind of group yourselves with the 5 or 6 other people that you're sitting closest to, and Robert's going to help me pass around a marker and a very large Post-it note to each table. And we're going to, in your small groups, brainstorm some skills and tools that either you have used or seen used by others in your life about how you can best advocate for yourself. And then we're going to take some time for reflection at the end to kind of bring everyone together to hear them. We'll also post them so they'll all be available for the rest of the day for people to come back and reflect on. But yeah.
No, exactly.
Okay, we will give you all about 8 minutes and then we'll come back together for a little bit of share and then it'll be time to eat. So thank you all.
2020.
To have a perspective on those things and look at yourself and check in and make sure that you're not, going down a road you don't want to be going that isn't healthy for you. And have the people that you can rely on for help, and there are a lot of resources out there.
I'm not okay, or admit when you don't understand something, so asking for help. Don't let people say that you can't do something. Identify your allies, which a lot of people have said. Hold institutions accountable for when they've done wrong. Recognize that everyone is different and don't be too quick to solve. First, you should understand.
Earlier today I was having some anxiety and I had to write down 5 things I see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can feel, and a few things I can taste, and I forgot the other one. But yeah, I did that and now I feel a little bit better. If you are a kid or a minor, speak to an adult. And build your confidence and self-reflection. That one is also kind of a hard one because if you don't have confidence, you can't trust anyone. It's even hard to trust yourself and your decisions and all that other stuff. And somebody, I think this was a given, but allow yourself to question professionals. Ask for accommodations of clarification, like don't be afraid for asking for help. Utilize resources of all types and educate yourself, because if you educate yourself, it's going to be easier to advocate for the things that you need and want. More things in writing, like documentation and making sure that you have everything down, just in case somebody does try to, screw you over. Ask for feedback. Never be afraid to go to someone you love or trust and ask for some advice or help. rest and recovery, because that's very important. Because advocating is exhausting. You know, you definitely get tired of it. And you know, not everybody's always gonna look out for you, so you always have to do it yourself. And stand up and definitely speak for others. Bystander syndrome is definitely a thing that, especially with phones and everything, it's definitely easy to just sit back and kind of take the back seat and the back burner. But I think that as people, we can definitely do a little bit better with, you know, being a bystander. Even what you wear, you know, even something as simple as a brand, whether it's Nike, whether you're supporting the community, farming, and just showing up. Any event, people would love for you to show up. Everybody showed up today, and you know, that's great. So thank you.
Thank you all so much for that. I know I learned a lot, and it was really, really amazing hearing all of your strategies and ideas that you put down. And please take a few minutes when you have a chance through the rest of the day to walk around and look at the ones that are posted.